an article by Josh Silver, CEO of United Republic. Since the Citizens United ruling over 2 years ago, millions of dollars have flowed from the super rich and corporations to elect or defeat candidates. A handful of billionaires have manipulated election outcomes in a matter of days, buying vicious ads through super PACs that candidates pretend are independent from their own campaigns, while their former colleagues and pals run those PACs. As Ari Berman reported in Huffington Post, some 196 individual donors have provided nearly 80% of the money raised by super PACs in 2011 by giving $100,000 or more each. And Eric Weiler, also our Coffee Party president, posted a great piece that gave more background information about the Supreme Court order that was handed down on Friday.
The official ruling is basically they issued a stay on a 100-year-old law in the state of Montana banning corporations from spending money to influence their elections. After the Citizens United decision, a corporate lobbying firm that is trying to defeat any kind of environmental protection for the people, they said, hey, well, now that we've said that it's no longer constitutional to have any limits or any required disclosure on campaign donations, let's strike down this law. And let's do it quietly so that the public doesn't notice. So we'll have no oral arguments. I think that the 1% is very concerned about public opinion and very concerned about the possibility that we, the people, will start to have our own conversations that they can't control. And so Supreme
American
Court...
Tradition Partnership was hoping that they would keep it quiet.
Right. So what the Supreme Court said was, we'll grant you the stay. So the stay means that they're no longer enforcing this law, but we're going to ask for you to give us a written argument, and then we're going to give the state of Montana, and the Attorney General is really dedicated to defending the state's right to protect its elections from corporate purchase. We're going to give the state some time to respond, and then we're going to decide whether we want to hear oral arguments. And, people might say, well, okay, there's 5 justices on the Supreme Court that have shown that they would more often rule in favor of what the corporations want. But first of all, you only need 4 to bring the case for oral arguments. They're also asking themselves, don't the people deserve to have a Supreme Court that will look at this issue now that they have more information? It would just be a great thing for our democracy to have the Supreme Court revisit Citizens United this year. That's why we're going to push for it. And we're putting together a flash rally this Thursday in front of the Supreme Court at noon. And we're hoping to organize people around the country to bring this issue to the public's attention.
That is great, yes. And if you are interested in more information on the flash rally that's happening in front of the U.S. Supreme Court building this Thursday, February 23rd at noon, you can actually go to the Coffee Party website, and there is actually a place that you can sign up to get more information.
How you doing? This is John.
Hey, John. Where are you calling from?
I'm in Florida. I just wanted to comment, probably the best way of doing this, I agree that, raising the national consciousness on this is good. But I think the best way that we can all do something about this is to do it through referendum in the states. I think on a local level, it might work a lot better. So if we all start pushing it onto the ballot in each different state, that would push it up to Washington eventually.
Well, Annabelle, what do you think about John having it go state by state? This was also brought up by another caller.
Well, what's happening with, Move to Amend is that they're passing local resolutions pushing back on Citizens United, but it's not legally binding. It's a declaration. It's an important declaration, but it's not legally binding. And as long as Citizens United ruling is upheld by the Supreme Court, that's the law of the land. And so the Montana case is unusual in that it's a Supreme Court of the state of Montana going up against the Supreme Court of the nation. And so this is where the battle lines are being drawn that is legally binding.
The Move to Amend approach, we love that approach. We embrace that approach, and we are helping at the local level. Coffee Party members are working with Move to Amend members and other good government organizations. So we're not saying that we're abandoning that long-term plan. But what you're talking about here is, let's just call it a boxing match for a second. What's happening is that we're overmatched, okay? We've got a fighter that's got better defenses, stronger, bigger than we are, and we're kind of keeping our distance. We're taking the long-term plan. We're going to try to last 12 rounds and maybe win on points. But all of a sudden on Friday, with this statement from Justice Ginsburg and Justice Breyer, this behemoth corporate monster put its guard down. And the guard is down for the next 6 weeks or 8 weeks while they're going to make the decision about whether they're going to reconsider Citizens United this year. And so, of course, we're going to take our shot. Of course, we're going to wind up and sock them right in the jaw right now. Because even if it doesn't knock them over, even if they do decide to hear the case and it's another 5-4 decision upholding the corporate purchase of our democracy, the process itself will be such an education for the entire country that the long-term plan of dancing for 12 rounds and trying to win on points and passing the local resolution and maybe even pushing toward a constitutional amendment, that 5-year plan, becomes all the more possible because we rocked them right in the jaw in round 1. So we've got to take advantage of this opportunity. We're going to be there at noon on Thursday at the United States Supreme Court, and Annabelle has been working with some of the brightest, most creative organizers in the country because it just so happens that there's a conference called Roots Camp that's going on right now, sitting down to lunch and strategizing with some people who can really make things happen.
This is a huge opportunity, and we have to focus. We really have to focus. It's a very short window of time. We have to demonstrate public opinion that we need them to reconsider this, and we're not going to take no for an answer, or otherwise there's going to be a massive uproar.
Yeah. I mean, this is the interesting thing. It happened on a Friday of a holiday weekend. So the elite sort of super corporate media hasn't really been covering this, but they will if we do X. And the question is, what's X? We have this weekend to figure it out. We'll be using social media, the stuff that doesn't require $1 million to purchase entry into. But what are we going to do? What are those people who care the most? It's all you folks who are listening right now. Over these next few weeks, while the Supreme Court is deliberating on whether or not they want to hear this case, there's going to need to be a filing from the 1% corporate entity that lobbies against environmental protection. What are they called again, Jessica? American Tradition Partnership. Okay, so ATP is going to have to file a briefing. That's going to take some time. They have until the 29th of March, I believe, but they could file it sooner if they want. And then the state of Montana is going to file a briefing. It's going to be awesome. I'm sure they're already working on it right now. They already won the case at the Montana Supreme Court. And then the corporatist entity of America, they can also respond. And then the Supreme Court is going to say either we're not going to have oral arguments and we're not going to hear it, or they're going to say, you know what? We've learned something that we didn't know when we issued this ruling. If you have unlimited, unaccountable, undisclosed money from multinational corporations and super wealthy mogul billionaires buying influence in our elections, it does indeed create the appearance of corruption. In fact, it might even create corruption. We've learned that. We didn't know that in January of 2010. It's now March of 2012. It might be April or May. We now know that the corrupting influence of money in politics is a disease that must be stopped. And so we don't know how we're going to rule, but we're going to hear oral arguments. And once that happens, as Annabelle said, it's on the national stage. It's on the international stage. And it's a chance to hit the knockout punch on this issue, on the Citizens United ruling, but also to shift the national conversation for good. And we're already doing it. It's already happening with the Republican primaries being purchased state by state or not. I mean, that's the drama of it. Santorum has a chance to win anyway. And so the cultural shift is happening anyway. But now the behemoth corporate monster has put its gloves down, and the chin is wide open, and we've got to strike.